Australia versus India, Uncomfortable Truth Edition. India has potential. Australia has execution. India celebrates population, emotions, and history. Australia rewards skills, systems, and accountability. In India, rules exist, but flexibility decides outcomes. In Australia, rules exist, and they're enforced, even on the powerful. India produces millions of graduates every year. Australia asks one brutal question: can you actually do the job? In India, respect is often demanded by age, status, or hierarchy. In Australia, respect is earned by competence, fairness, and consistency. India moves fast emotionally. Australia moves slow politically, but once a system is built, it works. India talks about growth. Australia quietly delivers quality of life. And here's the real trigger. Australia doesn't need you to love it. It needs you to adapt. If you bring skills, discipline, and civic sense, Australia gives you dignity, safety, and opportunity. If you bring entitlement, shortcuts, and excuses, Australia chews you up. India is a civilization. Australia is a system. One gives identity, the other gives outcomes. Choose what you want, pride or performance. Stop lying to yourself. India runs on noise, emotions, and excuses. Australia runs on systems, consequences, and results. India worships degrees. Australia doesn't care where you studied. Prove you can work. India has talent drowning in chaos. Australia has average people thriving because the rules actually work. In India, you survive by connections, jugaad, and bending rules. In Australia, try that once. You're out. Fined, fired, cancelled. India asks, who are you? Australia asks, what value do you bring? In India, status talks louder than skill. In Australia, skill shuts everyone up. Here's the part people hate hearing. Australia is not racist, it's performancist. It doesn't care about your history, your struggle, your sacrifices. It cares if you're on time, competent, clean, respectful, and accountable. You don't adapt here, you don't survive. No sympathy, no shortcuts, no emotional quota. India produces ambition. Australia filters it. India gives you identity. Australia gives you outcomes, if you earn them. If that offends you, don't migrate. If that excites you, welcome to reality. Compare Australia with the US, Canada, and the UK. But when it comes to actual quality of life, Australia quietly wins. In the US, you might earn more on paper, but healthcare can bankrupt you, gun violence is a real fear, and burnout is worn like a badge of honor. Life feels fast, loud, and constantly on edge. The UK has history and culture, but wages are stagnant, housing is broken, and the weather alone can drain your mental health. People survive more than they thrive. Canada looks peaceful, but the reality is harsh winters, rising taxes, collapsing healthcare wait times, and some of the worst housing affordability in the world. Australia, on the other hand, gets the balance right. You get universal healthcare, strong worker protections, high minimum wages, and a culture that respects life outside work. You're encouraged to live, not just grind. The weather supports an active lifestyle. Nature isn't a luxury, it's part of daily life. Beaches, parks, space, sunlight, these things matter more than people admit. Australia isn't perfect, but it's stable, safe, and future-focused. Less chaos, less fear, more breathing room. That's why many who come here don't just work, they finally live. Hi there. Let's talk about some facts. There's a lot of noise out there about immigrants in Australia, but let's talk facts, not feelings. Australia has one of the strictest visa systems in the world. You don't just walk in and settle. Every step, student visa, work visa, permanent residency, is heavily regulated, monitored, and earned. See people doing jobs locals avoid? Delivery, support work, factories, long shifts? Most of them are students transitioning to work visas or partners of skilled migrants. Not people taking over, but people filling real gaps. And here's something people don't say enough. The majority of Indian migrants are here to build a future, not exploit a system. Around 90% are either studying or working toward permanent residency. Population explosion? Not really. Most families have 1 to 3 kids, just like many Australians, but they value stability, relationships, and long-term growth. Welfare dependency? That's a myth. In most cases, both partners work, both pay taxes, and both contribute. And trust me, people on visas don't take risks. One mistake can cost everything. So they follow the rules, strictly. Meanwhile, many locals are so used to Australia's strong systems that they zoom in on a tiny percentage of problems and ignore the bigger picture. Step outside the algorithm, step outside the politics. You'll see it clearly. Australia isn't being taken over, it's being built by people from everywhere. And that's what makes it beautiful. Many Australians ask, why are so many Indians driving Ubers, trucks, doing deliveries, or working in warehouses? The reality is very different from the online narratives. Most Indians coming to Australia are not arriving on welfare visas. The majority come through skilled migration, student visas, temporary work visas, or employer-sponsored pathways. Australia's immigration system mainly selects migrants based on education, English ability, age, qualifications, and work skills. Studies and government data consistently show migrants, especially skilled migrants, contribute more in taxes than they take in welfare. Many temporary visa holders are not even eligible for most welfare payments for years. So why are many Indians driving Uber or trucks? Because survival comes first. A large number of migrants arrive with degrees in engineering, IT, business, or healthcare, but face barriers like lack of Australian experience, expensive licensing processes, qualification recognition delays, local hiring bias, and immediate financial pressure. So instead of sitting unemployed, they work. They drive Uber at night, deliver food, work in logistics, warehouses, aged care, taxis, and trucking. Jobs many Australians themselves often avoid because of long hours or difficult conditions. Truck driving and rideshare work also offer flexibility for students and temporary visa holders trying to pay tuition fees, rent, and support families back home. At the same time, Australia is facing labor shortages in transport, logistics, healthcare, and service industries. Migrants are filling many of those gaps. So why are some Australians complaining? There are several reasons. Pressure on housing and cost of living, job competition fears, infrastructure strain, frustration with government migration policies, and misinformation spreading online. Unfortunately, some people wrongly direct that anger toward migrants instead of debating policies or workforce planning. In industries like trucking, Indian drivers have also reported racism and discrimination. The truth is, most Indian migrants came legally, work hard, pay taxes, and are trying to build a better future. Many are overqualified for the jobs they currently do, not unwilling to contribute. Driving a truck or Uber is not a sign of failure. It's often the first step in rebuilding life in a new country. Yes, there have definitely been discussions and reports around bringing more construction workers, tradies, and even large contracting partnerships from India to help Australia tackle the housing shortage. But it's important to separate official government policy from media speculation and business proposals. Here's what's actually happening. Australia is actively targeting overseas construction labor. Australia has openly acknowledged it does not have enough tradies to meet the 1.2 million homes target. Industry groups estimate the country needs more than 100,000 extra workers. Because of that, the government has been expanding skilled migration, speeding up overseas qualification recognition, encouraging employer-sponsored visas, discussing labor agreements for sectors with shortages. India is one of the major talent pools. India is seen as a huge source of engineers, civil workers, project managers, electricians, plumbers, IT-linked construction specialists. The Australia-India trade relationship has also become much closer under the Australia-India Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement, ECTA. Now, about the Indian contractors building Australian homes reports. There were reports in 2025 about India being in discussions related to helping build up to 1 million homes in Australia, including training Indian workers to Australian standards. Indian Minister Piyush Goyal publicly mentioned deep negotiations connected to housing and construction cooperation. But there has not been a formal announcement that India will directly take over Australian housing construction. There is currently no public Australia-wide program importing massive numbers of Indian laborers specifically for housing. Most pathways still operate through normal skilled migration, labor agreements, or employer sponsorship visas. What's more likely? What experts think is more realistic is Australian builders partnering with Indian firms, recruitment drives targeting Indian tradies and engineers, temporary skilled visa expansion, modular/prefab housing partnerships, training programs bringing workers up to Australian licensing standards. The government is also funding faster trade recognition for migrants already in Australia. Why this becomes